Ever wonder why Hashem gave us Eretz Yisrael? What's the point? If Eretz Yisrael was supposed to be for us, why give it to Canaan first? Why put giants over there? Why make it difficult to see the good? Why is it that Hashem made it that in America, life is so much better than in Eretz Yisrael in Gashmias? What's the reason? Why not make Eretz Yisrael, like it says in the Torah, full of milk and honey, where life is easy, life is simple, and everything works? That was the Chet HaMeraglim. The Meraglim, they say, hey, we're going to see the fruits. We're going to listen. They didn't want to feel. They didn't want to feel what's inside. How do I connect to Hashem? Why is it that it's so difficult to live in Eretz Yisrael? Why is it that so many people don't come? On the same token, we could ask, why is it that there are 7 million Jews who chose to come? What did they see? Sfas Emes says an amazing idea. In Parshas Shelach, Hashem tells Avram Avinu, it's time to go. Lech lecha me'artzecha u'me'ladetcha el ha'aretz me'beis avicha el ha'aretz asher arecha. Leave the land where you grew up. Come to Hebron, where Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov were buried, like Kalev did. Come and stand and say you come to get your place. But why didn't he tell him, go to Eretz Yisrael? Sfas Emes says, the most unbelievable idea. We'll get to that in a second. In Eretz Yisrael today, we are witnessing something. I am not talking about mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. I'm not talking about the Gemara that says, Kol Ador be'Eretz Yisrael. Anybody who lives in Eretz Yisrael is as if he has Hashem, and one who lives in Chutz La'aretz as if he doesn't want to have Hashem. Why is it that the central theme of the Torah is leaving Mitzrayim and coming to Eretz Canaan? What's so important? What's wrong with Judaism today? Why can't we have big yeshivas and wealthy communities where people succeed in life and follow Torah and learn Torah b'hasmada? What was wrong with Bavel? What's wrong with it? Why does Hashem need us to come to Eretz Yisrael? Sfas Emes says the most simple and most real answer you can get. Eretz Yisrael, if you're asking what's going to happen, where am I going, you've missed the point. The point of Eretz Yisrael is, if Hashem would have told Avram, go to Eretz Yisrael, that would have been the end of the point. There's nothing left to teach. He already knows where he's going. The whole point of Eretz Yisrael is that you don't know where you're going. That's the challenge. On one hand, the Bnei Yisrael have two things that happened. One, they were in Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim was one of the promises, the promise that Hashem told Avram. When Avram came and recognized Hashem at age 48, Hashem tells him, eventually your grandchildren will be slaves to Paro in Mitzrayim. So maybe Avram could understand, yes, we're going to need to go down. We're going to need to lower ourselves to the 49th level of Tumah. We're going to need to experience what slavery means so that we can accept the Torah. We're going to witness amazing things. What's the Rechush Gadol that we need to see? What is this amazing thing that Hashem gives us? We all know it's the Torah. The way we got the Torah was from being in Mitzrayim. But there's another aspect Hashem said. Hashem said in Makkah's Choshech that you should go check where all the gold is. Then you should borrow the gold. And then the Mitzrayim will know that you borrowed the gold and you took it and you left Mitzrayim. When you left Mitzrayim, they chased after their gold. Why did Hashem do that? Why not just give them all their gold? Why not just give them Eretz Yisrael, which is barren from people, and we could come here and build it up? Why do we need the Houthis? Why do we need the Iranians? Why do we need Hamas and Hezbollah? Why do we need these people here? Why does Hashem make it this way? We're his chosen people. Can't he give us a land that's barren that we can build up and have our place? On the other hand, we can ask, why does Hashem make it that 7 million Jews return? We rebuild Yerushalayim. We rebuild Eretz Yisrael. And finally, for the first time in the history, since the Bayis Sheni, we're at 51% almost of the Jews living in Eretz Yisrael in the world. But why do we need to have these people? Why can't Eretz Yisrael, if it's the chosen place and we're the chosen nation and we're learning the Torah in Eretz Yisrael, why can't there be peace? What is Hashem waiting for? What's the message of having Eretz Canaan? Why do we have to have the Zayin Amamim? Why do we need to have all the nations of the world deciding whether we should be here? What's the message? Hashem, when he sent the Meraglim, the Midrash says when the Meraglim went to Eretz Yisrael, and the second they ask, they want to go see, Hashem writes, boom, they're gone. They're falling with them. They're falling. And when they came back and they told the message to Klal Yisrael, they all started crying. Let's go back to Mitzrayim. Let's answer the first question. Why did Hashem say to Avram Avinu, "Va'achar kein yetzu b'rechush gadol"? They're going to come out with lots of money. By Bizas Hayam, after they borrowed all the money, and the Mitzrayim chased after their money, they come to Kriyas Yamsuf, and the horses were decorated with gold. After Yetzias Mitzrayim, it says that Rashi says Moshe had to pull Bnei Yisrael by their ears because they were collecting diamonds and gold from the riverbank. This gold that they picked up at Bizas Hayam was to fulfill the promise that Hashem said, your children will go out with Dei Zahav with lots of money. Lots of money. What did they use this money for? Where did this money end up? One place, the Egel Azov. And when Moshe came to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and said, why are you upset about the Egel? You gave them too much money. What did you expect was going to happen? Of course they're going to sin. They had too much money. Hashem smiled and he said, of course, I knew that. I knew that all along, says the Midrash. Hashem said, I knew right away they're going to fall. I wanted them to fall. I wanted them to be at a place where money is more important than Eretz Yisrael. They took this money and they built the Egel Azov. And when it came time to build the Mishkan, Hashem said, this Mishkan is going to be built with the gold from Mitzrayim. It's going to be metakein on the Cheta Egel of the Dei Zahav. The Midrash says it's a mashal to a father who takes his son and puts too much money in his wallet. And he puts him in Las Vegas. Of course he's going to sin. He puts him in a tamei place. Of course he's going to sin. So the question, why did Hashem give us a land that's filled with Zayin Amamim? Why did the Meraglim say, Ve'aginu be'eineim kechagavim, we were in their eyes like grasshoppers? Midrash says, grasshoppers? How do you know that you were grasshoppers? Maybe you were like malachim, maybe you were like angels. Angels can't be seen. How do you know if this is going to be a nes or if this is going to be b'derech hateva? The fact is, today, there are 7 million Jews living in Eretz Yisrael. There is more Torah in Eretz Yisrael than there ever was in the history of the world. There are more yeshivas right now than there were since Bayis Sheni. Yes, it was built by the Chilonim. Yes, it was built by the non-religious. What a schus that Hashem, who knows whose neshamas these people are. The Ramdu says that neshamas only come back to the world in their unfixed state. That means that if there's a neshama in the world that only needs one tikkun left, perhaps it was a Gadol Hador who didn't strive to live in Eretz Yisrael, and his tikkun is to come back as a chiloni and build Eretz Yisrael. Hashem was mezakeh all of Am Yisrael, every nation, even Sheva Dan, who was in the north, who represented the darkness. But why have the Zion Amamim? Why make it so difficult? Hashem said, I want you to make a choice. Rashi says there are people whose money is more important than their lives. Jack Benny, famous comedian, probably never heard of him. He was before TV. The longest laugh ever recorded on radio was this question. He says, a thief comes up to somebody and he says, your money or your life? The guy doesn't answer. He says, I said your money or your life. So he said, 1 second, I'm thinking. That's what Rashi is saying. Do you want a Kadosh Baruch Hu in your life? Do you want to feel like Kadosh Baruch Hu? Do you want to have Ashkocha Pratis in a way that you could only have in Eretz Yisrael? The Gemara says that only a person should live in Eretz Yisrael. Not for the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. We don't need a mitzvah to tell us that this is what Hashem wants. Open the Chumash, open the Navi. Is there anything greater than living in Eretz Yisrael? Shifti beveis Hashem, kol yimei chayai. May I dwell in His land all my life. So the money. We all know that Kalev went and he went lispalel al kivrei avosav. Is the message that we go to daven at Kivrei Avosav, is that the message that we go to Hebron, or we go to Uman, or we go to here, or we go to there, to Reb Shaila? Is that the message that we want the Geula? We go daven by Kfarim. That's the message of Kalev. Chas v'shalom. The Meraglim wanted to have B'derech Nes. They thought they were the Dora Midbar, and everything the Mun came. Hashem, they thought, was their free candy machine. Somebody who gives them everything they wanted. There is nothing that they can't do. And to prove it, they say, we're going to come back and say that this land is impenetrable. It's filled with goyim. It's filled with giants who see us as grasshoppers. It's fortified cities like Hebron, which was fortified 7 years before Mitzrayim, the two children of Ham, Canaan and Mitzrayim, going from Mitzrayim to Canaan. And they thought that would sanctify Hashem's name, because against all odds, we're able to survive in Eretz Yisrael. Kalev said something else. Kalev was the only one who went to Kivrei Avosav. He said, I'm coming to Eretz Yisrael, and I want to be here because Hashem promised Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. La'oretz, lezarecho, etnena sa'oretz hazois. To your children, I'll give this land. This land will be yours. That was the message of Kalev. We, today, everybody says, Mashiach will come when sinas chinim will fall. And yes, lots of Gedolim said this, and a Mishnah in Saita that says that the Pnei Mashiach, Pnei Ador, Pnei Akelev, the people will be like dogs. What does that mean, they'll be like dogs? Chutzpah Yazin, they'll have lots of chutzpah in the world. And the Mishnah finishes, V'anachnu ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim, ve'ein lanu al mi lehishayin ela avinu shabashamayim. Says Rebbe Chanan Vasman in Kovetz Ma'amorim in the Igros, that this is the worst klala of that Mishnah in Saita. The worst klala is that we're going to say, Anachnu ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim, we're waiting, we're like the Meraglim, we're waiting for Nisim. We want a miracle to happen. Al kanfei nisharib, we want. Elal isn't good enough. We're waiting for a tekiah. We're waiting for a trua. We're waiting for a shvarim. That's the klala. Instead of taking action and saying, what can I do to bring myself closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? What can I sacrifice? What risks can I take for my financial security? Is it possible that Hashem put me in this world and wants me to succeed? It's impossible that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put a person in this world without the possibility of that person hitting a home run every single time. It's impossible. It would deny the very existence of Bechira. HaKadosh Baruch Hu put every one of us to succeed. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, you have money or you have Eretz Yisrael. Those are the two choices. There are no other choices. It's either Dei Zahav, either you're sitting on the seashores of Kriyas Yamsuf. You witness Kriyas Yamsuf. And all you're thinking about is how much more gold I could have to make an ego. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I want you, b'chol moedecha. I want you to give up something for me. The only way to make a change, not with your eyes, not with your ears, not with your mouth, but with your heart. B'chol levavcha. The only way to create a change within the heart is through sacrifice. The guf is two parts. There's the neshama, which is something high, and there's something, the body, which is the behema, which is the low part. The low part wants to enjoy this life. It wants to dream. It wants to feel good all the time. The neshama says, I want to kesher with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and kesher with HaKadosh Baruch Hu is emes. I do something, Hashem responds immediately. Hashem watches over Eretz Yisrael every day, every minute. You see videos, endless videos. We're witnessing this miracle on an hourly basis. Come join us in Eretz Yisrael. It's difficult. It's a sacrifice. The Rabbanim aren't saying to do it. But what about you? What about your neshama? Do you not want to sit and witness Mashiach coming? But put that aside. Do you not want to witness and experience what it's like to have Hashem in your life? Of course we have Hashem in our life in Chutz La'aretz. Of course. We have Torah. And there's no Torah that Torah is being learned on such tremendous levels. But a kesher to that Kodesh Baruch Hu, Hashem says in the Torah, can only be found in Eretz Yisrael. And it can only be conquered through difficulty. The Gemara in Yuma says, Babaya Sheni in the second temple, in the second Beis HaMikdash. Afal, in the first Beis HaMikdash, the three cardinal sins, everybody knows. In the second Beis HaMikdash. Afal Pisha Hayalehem, Kol Tuvei Oilam Ayam, Torah, Mitzvahs, Gumilos, Chasodim. They did everything. They had Gemach for everything. They had Kupa Shel Tzedakah. They had Daf Yoimi. They had Mishnah Yoimi. They had an endless amount of Torah, Yiras Shamayim, and Chesed. How is it possible that they fell? Says the Yerushalmi that they had sinas chinam. I want to ask you a question. Does that make sense to you? Sinas chinam? Yeah, okay. It's a chet. But how is it possible to have all of Torah and have sinas chinam? Isn't that a contradiction? Is there something wrong with that? Is there something missing from this picture? My Rebbe Rav Asher Zelig Rubinstein said the following, and this will shock you. This is the Talmud Bavli in Yuma that says this. There's a Talmud Yerushalmi on the same daf that says a little different changes everything. Yerushalmi says the reason why, although in second Beis HaMikdash we had everything, We had Torah mitzvahs, gmilas chasodim, meisim toivim. Ela she'ohavu es memoinam. They loved their money. V'sanu ish esreyu. Yushalmi. And halacha, we follow the Bavli, because the Bavli came after a few hundred years later. And the Bavli, we assume, was read the Yushalmi. But on things that are related to Eretz Yisrael, there is no place that we can't look in the Yerushalmi and say that this is the truth. Rav Asher Zelig Rubinstein, all of Shalom Zecher Tzadik B'Kodesh Yavacha says, B'Shem of Avram Yafin, that in Eretz Yisrael today, more than ever, it's possible to live comfortably. I live in Ramat Beit Shemesh. Ramat Beit Shemesh, when I came here over almost 25 years ago, it was a small little Jewish American enclave. Today, I imagine it's over 150,000 people. Every day I meet new people coming. People who've left their jobs, who've left their works, who've left their large houses and left their lavish lifestyle. And I also met people who left their poor little house, who didn't have very much in their life, and came to Eretz Yisrael. When I speak to them and I ask them, why did you come? They said they came to live with Hashem. May we all be Zocha in Parshas Shelach this week, when we're in the middle of a war. We all know the outcome. The outcome is written in Nevi'im. The outcome is that Mashiach comes. It's happening today. The Nisim over the past 100 years were condensed into one day. We would be certain, without any doubt, that Mashiach is here. I am certain, without any doubt, that if all of Klal Yisrael came to Eretz Yisrael today, Mashiach would come in 1 minute. I know it's very difficult. I'm not asking you to come. Also, Bnei Yisrael, who saw the Torah being given on Har Sinai, they didn't come to Eretz Yisrael. It was their children who came to yeshiva here, who came to seminary here, and decided, I want this for myself. May Hashem, and we should also remember that Hashem also calls people to Eretz Yisrael. There's something deep inside of us that in our neshama, in our shorish neshama, that brings us to Eretz Yisrael. And I want to say even more than that. If you look in the Torah, if you look in the Nevi'im and look in the Ksuvim, Eretz Yisrael is a mahus by itself. It is an entity. It is an existence like no other existence in the world. Eretz Yisrael, the pasuk says, "Vatoki Eretz Eschem," the land can vomit a person out, and the land cannot tolerate certain sins. Why not make a land that can tolerate everything? Hashem said, "If you come live in Eretz Yisrael, come with me. Don't come for the fruit." Moshe Rabbeinu davened to come into Eretz Yisrael. Are we davening to come into Eretz Yisrael? Is that all we're doing is davening? Today, more than ever, it's easier than ever to come to Eretz Yisrael. I want to wish Klal Yisrael and all my dear listeners that we should at least give another thought about what we can do to help prepare for the coming of Mashiach. If you like this video and this spoke to you, inspired you, please like and subscribe. If I offended anybody, I apologize. It's only for my love of Eretz Yisrael and the Jewish people that I speak. Thank you.